Live in a second. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 332. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us tonight, we have Tim Capper. Tim is CEO of OnlineOwnership.com. He's also a Google product expert on the Google My Business community. He's based in Corby, about 100 miles north of London. Micah Fisher-Kirchner is chairman of a meetup group?
President, it's fine.
President. Actually, I don't know if anybody in America want to be calling themselves president, would they?
I was just going to suggest he was the Trump of the group.
Oh.
Okay, Micah is head of SEO for is director of SEO for Turn River Capital in the United States. He resides on the west coast of the USA, not too far from Silicon Valley. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google product expert on the AdSense community. And David Rozam, a leading internet marketer based in West Sussex. He's a copywriter of many years standing. You can find David at writingforseo.org and davidrozam.com. I think that's covered it. And so we'll go to our first question. And it's titled, "The Domain Name is Different from Business Name." It's from Brenda Michelin, who asks, I have a client whose domain name is different from their business name. How do I optimize keywords, the domain name or the business name for local search? Hypothetical that the domain is Office Space Atlanta and the business name is THR Executive Suites. Do I make sure that Office Space Atlanta is interlinked, or should it be THR Executive Suites that is emphasized?
I mean, they want to be found for their business name, right? So you want to make sure you're using their business name where it should be. Obviously, it's not ideal that their brand name and domain name are not close enough, but yeah, I don't think it matters for the sake and purposes. You don't really want people to search for or be known for the domain name, so make sure everything is kind of really focused around being the business name, assuming that's the one that you want people to find it for. And if you can, at some point, try to move the business to something a little more, move the domain to something that is a little more approximate of what the actual business name is.
Thank you, Micah. Anybody else want to add something to this? Okay, let's go to number 2 on our run list, and we have 11 questions tonight, I think. This one's titled Track Your Ranking in Google Maps from AJ M. Verma, who said, I am new to local SEO. What is a good method to track your ranking in Google Maps? Better if there's also a free tool to do that. Thanks.
Depends where you are. Yeah, I mean, you can use Right Local, you can use Local Falcon, SEMrush offer it. Yeah, there's quite a few. Just find one that offers local.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's go to the next. JL Faverio asked a question titled Sidekick by Google. He said, has anybody used or heard of this? It's a Google plugin for WordPress. Sidekick kit by Google.
Well, no, I haven't used it, but it literally looks like, it's just a plugin pulling in the tools, analytics, page speed, search console, which you already have. I think the big question at the end of the day is what kind of load does the plugin put on the site? Because if you wanted it to be nice and handy there when you're working in the site or looking at particular pages and you get that banner that it pulls in from your analytics, etc., that's fine. We already have these, but if you like it, that's great. But I think because we already have it, I think then the question would be, what kind of load does it put on the site? And then, if it's negligible and you want it there, then cool, but bear in mind that we already have access to everything. Of course, not exactly in the site and in a top line banner, but yeah, I mean.
Yep, thanks, Tim. All right, thank you, Felonius.
Oh, that's next door. That's Millie next door.
Here's a question from Linda Kaplinger. It's number 4 on our run list. It's titled Google's Privacy Policy on Our Site. Linda said, I hope you guys don't mind an internal search question on an SEO forum. We're contemplating running Google custom search on our site again, and notice that they are now requiring us to put a statement about Google's privacy policy on our site and to link to it. We're not sure that we want to do that. Anyone dealt with Google on this side of the search world? We're curious as to what sorts of specific data Google is collecting about users on our site. Thanks.
This is a tough one. As Stockbridge Trustler mentioned, in Europe, GDPR is a big issue. And the principle is that you have to obtain explicit consent for people, for you and third parties to collect data about visitors on your site. You can't rely on sort of implicit consent model. That's why if you go to many websites in Europe or you try to access websites from Europe, you will have a screen pop-up that says, I agree with the use of cookies, blah, 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 blah. And you hit OK. It's a bit difficult. It is a difficult situation because you don't know what exactly Google is collecting on your site, because Google doesn't disclose that to you. And if anyone has any issues, privacy concerns, then they would have to go to Google to find out what information Google has. So I think in many cases, what websites do is to say, we on this site allow Google to collect information about your visit. Here is a link to Google's privacy policy. And if you have any issues, please contact Google about the information that it holds about you. This is an area where things are not firmed up, as it were. There's a lot of fluidity. There hasn't been much enforcement either. So in a sense, we are in a bit of legal and regulatory uncertainty But if Google demands you to link to its privacy policy, you must do it. I think that would be the bottom line, because otherwise both you and Google may be liable under the GDPR.
Even if it's a violation of the Google Webmaster Guidelines.
The law trumps Google guidelines.
Okay. Well, if nobody has anything to add, we'll go to the next. This one from David Ogletree. It's titled, "Is there any reason to use index follow? Isn't the lack of a follow directive assumed to be index follow?"
Pretty much. You're fine. Just use an index is fine. Index follow is fine. Just, yeah. If you want to keep it a little cleaner, drop off the follow. It's implicit.
Excellent. Thank you, Micah. Also, I'd like to point out people like Stockbridge Trustlow and Michael Martinez, Ryan Jones, I see there. These guys answer questions for us, for everybody through the week. And as soon as somebody asks a question, people are responding, and for that we're truly grateful. Okay, Nazman Naha asked a question titled, "Tagged no index, but still indexed by Google." He said, "Hi guys, we just changed our hosting and now lots of pages indexed that were set to no index using the Yoast plugin. I see a no index tag on the page source code, but it is still indexed by Google. Could you please advise why it's happening?"
So it may be that Google hasn't crawled the pages fully yet, and it's just going to take a bit of time. That's usually kind of reason one. Pages index that was set to no index using see no index tags. Trying to the two sentences seem kind of conflicting with each other. Yeah, so pretty much it's just a delay. Is reason possibility number one. Reason possibility number two is that you're accidentally cloaking. Google's seeing something different than what you're visually seeing as a user. So that's also a possibility. But those are probably the two most common likelihoods. Those are probably going to be the two likelihoods for why.
Thank you, Micah. Anybody else? Just one that I can think of is that their previous host may have had a server-side, a server directive to no index, and the no index tag that he sees looking at the page source might be faulty and not read by Google. The other thing that could be is that you may have a new robots text file, and that robots text might be blocking Googlebot from crawling your pages. And if they can't crawl your pages, they can't see the no index.
Yeah, and in a more unlikely scenario, there's the possibility of an X-robots tag overriding the HTML index tag or index attribute. Yeah, something like that. So basically, that's also a unlikely, but also another possibility.
Oh, does that happen? Because I thought Google always respected the most restrictive thing, but no. Okay, the X-Robots tag will override it.
I've had it. Yeah, I've had X-Robot tags where it says no index overwrite a page that has index on it in the HTML.
That's good to know.
Yeah, make sure the two are aligned. If you happen to, it's yeah, yeah. That's yeah. A good plugin for finding that one is, I think that's the IEMA's. What's it called? It's the link redirect trace from Link Research Tools. That's a lifesaver, so you don't have to like figure out how to go and find that X-Robot tag data.
Yeah, and just popped into my head with Yoast. Maybe the Yoast data. Maybe if you run the Yoast plugin again, the Yoast data. I don't know how they set that when you go through and load up Yoast, but maybe that is also it. All right, let's go to the next. This one from AJM Werner. It's titled "A Reliable Rank Tracker." Have to be SEMrush. He said, because SEMrush give some of our panelists a subscription to their suite of tools. Anyway, AJ said, a rank tracker that refreshes ranking daily for both desktop and mobile ranking. He wants to track about 100 keywords daily. Better if it comes with a one-time deal or low recurring fees. Thanks. Okay, looks like we're going to rely on the people responding on the community. Courtney Remus said SEMrush, and AJ said he wants a low price rank tracker and not a complete SEO tool. Prashant said Cert Robot.
I think tools that are just focused on rank checkers are essentially ones like Advanced Web Ranking, or aka AWR. Stat is another one that people often leverage as kind of a pure rank checker. Your accuracy question, I don't know. But if you're looking for just a pure rank checker, those kind of, I believe, are the ones that I hear most often from folks.
Yeah, okay. And I advise anybody who has the time to have a look at Michael Martinez's response on this. It can be seen on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. All right, JL Faverio asked the question. He said, long content management system slug on search engine results pages. He said, here's a sort of SEO question. He said, for PDF files hosted on a site, would you recommend to upload them into a separate directory, for example, /PDF, instead of through a CMS, a content management system dashboard, for example, WordPress? That way, when the PDFs get indexed, it's not showing the long content management system slug on a search engine results page. Thanks. And yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'm with Michael Martinez on this one. To me, it doesn't really matter. it's fine to just upload it. Long URLs are not, like, that's fine. Personally, I'm more in favor of, you know, if you can, having the PDF in its appropriate section within the site, but I also know that it's pretty commonplace to just put all PDFs within one upload directory. So I don't think there's a large enough difference to really make a concern over something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. This one from Neil Cheeseman, titled How Google Search Console Displays Pages from Search Results, i.e. filtering for a set word in the URL. How can results from 7 days be 300 plus and results from 3 months is less? Is assuming that would include the past week, be 140 plus.
Equals less than. Okay, so first, I mean, Google's been having a lot of indexing issues recently, so that's one possibility. Secondarily, and I say this as someone without the exact knowledge on their date range filtering, but sorry, I don't know why my light just went out here. On the second side of it, the other possibility is that Google is known, at least in the number of pages indexed, that it is just a rough, quick estimate that it pulls from. So it is entirely possible that, based on the specific filters you're using, certain ones are pulling in deeper and giving more accurate numbers, relatively more accurate numbers, and the other is kind of a very quick guesstimate. And so that might be why you don't see why you might see something like a longer time range being smaller than the shorter time range.
Thank you, Micah. All right, let's go to the next. This one from Aidin Kakur, and it is, what is topical SEO? How do supporting articles interlinking to a money page work? Is there any professional in the house who can explain this? Not really a normal question, is it?
Isn't most things that we do topical SEO when we're talking in terms of content? Because these days we talk about topics for pages rather than key phrases on them. I think this is possibly someone trying to do a little bit of branding in their blog, trying to lift the idea of topical SEO, which has been out there for donkeys, and branding it themselves. But am I being a bit cynical? Possibly.
No, and I love Stockbridge Trustflow's answer. He thinks the same way you do.
Yes, I've just found it here. Yeah. Yes, thinking topics when you're talking about content, and link sensibly between your pieces of content, so that your readers and Google know which bits are relevant and which bits go together.
Excellent. All right. Anybody else? Right. This is our last question, I think. Jason Chong has a couple of questions about schema. He said, I use SEO Press plugin and I have my business set up as a local business. When I run my website through Google's schema checker tool, my address has an @type postal address before my address. Should this be of concern as I have a physical address? Oh, Tim, you have to go. All right.
Yeah. Well, I answered this one. And yes, because that defines the entity within the postal address. So it should be there. And I gave him a link to actually look, because he's obviously not au fait with actual what structured data looks like. I think he's obviously just chucking stuff into a plugin. And when he looked at it in the structured data testing tool, he obviously couldn't. But that's meant to be there, in other words. Yeah. Right, and I'm off.
Okay, mate. Have a good time in Cambridge.
Yeah, see you later.
Okay, mate. Bye. All right. Well, that, I think, concludes the festivities. Let me see. Yes, it is. Thank you for watching time. We've done it again. We've answered all of the questions asked on the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook. I'd like to thank Tim Capper, Micah Fisher-Kirshner, Masataki Wasa, and David Rozam for their input this evening, and people like Michael Martinez and Stockbridge Trustlow, and so many others answering questions through the week. It's appreciated. If you're still watching us now, we thank you. We're very grateful. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. But for now, it's good night and thank you very much.